YouTube, what's going on? We're back with some more of the First Descendant. Got some more solo hard mode content for you here. This is my Viessa Cold-Bloodedness build. Obviously, this is post buff, so this is season 2. All the buffs apply. Go over the full build in detail on how I get to the these 17 and 20-second runs for you, and we'll continue to do that for the rest of the Transcendent module. So I'll go one at a time as opposed to doing it in one big long video. But I detail it out, give my thoughts, just things that I may or may not do, and if I do them, there'll be a video for it. So as always, you guys appreciate the grind, liking these videos. Please sub to the channel, and as always, smash that like button. Trick I like to do with the Viessa is therefore is like on a time bomb, so if you time it properly, pop Cold-Bloodedness, drop your 4, and this will all heal. That. "17 seconds. Alright, just going to go over my Viessa build. This is her Cold-Bloodedness build. This is post buff, so all the buffs are applied. The extra 30% movement speed, the extra damage, skill power to Cold Snap Watch, and obviously the damage over time, which I'll show over here. They've increased that from a 2-second interval to a 1-second interval, which is fantastic. So Viessa moves faster, Cold Snap Watch hits harder, or Cold Snap hits harder, and her dot damage or damage interval time has been reduced, so she's able to hit a lot better with those those crits when you spec into critical hit chance. So fantastic upgrades for Viessa post buff, makes her that much more fun to use. So again, this is the build that was able to take the Devourer out in 17 seconds. I'll go over some scenarios and obviously plug in the gameplay for Devourer for you guys so you can see the build, and then have some options as well to mix and match whatever your playstyle is. Again, this is just what works best for me and what I was able to do, and you can definitely get a little bit more out of it if you're willing to sacrifice risk reward type thing. So you could probably do better than 17 seconds. Using the frozen mechanics reactor, you need to have the the tech and the chill. I have a fairly good one. It's blue on the tech skill power ratio. Again, I would take that, or maybe even a duration would be nice on the bottom. But the additional skill attack when attacking Colossus is huge. So I got that in a gold roll. We're running the tack rifle to get the 160% skill power. And again, this synergizes with the tech skill. We're dropping the bombs. We're just dropping the 4, dropping the blizzard repeatedly over and over again. Running the 4-piece Slayer set, but the skill power is what you need to spec into, especially to just dust these bosses quick. And that's usually why you can sacrifice the the HP or the survivability in retrospect to the power, because I mean in that quick clear time they're not really going to hit you, so you're like I said, it's risk reward. So I'm running the 4-piece Slayer. Obviously there's the 2-piece polar, 2-piece annihilation, all of those are viable too for the reactor. I'm just rocking the Slayer right now. This is what I was rocking for the runs I was doing with the Devourer. So again, when it comes to like I said, with Viessa, our movement speed has been increased and her damage, so we spec heavily into skill critical hit rate and damage, so almost a 3 times multiplier on a 42% chance on the critical hit rate. That's what we're really specking into. Obviously we've got a little bit of these multipliers here too. Inherently Viessa already has good traits for these, so we're just specking into those a lot more with the build. So this is my setup here for the Devourer that I just took out. So I'll go over options in a minute, then I'll go over the build, then I'll go over some options with it. So again, we've got the cooldowns, down dramatically. You pop your Cold-Bloodedness build, which is your number 2. This drops from 19 to like 8 seconds. It's absolutely insane, but what matters most is what you're seeing there on the continuous damage skill multiplier. Below that is the damage interval. That used to be 2-second tick. So this is where the blizzard is now insane, because now it ticks, instead of ticking for 3 times over that 6-second mark, it's going to tick for 6 seconds. It's going to tick every second of its duration. It will tick for damage. So that is huge. So you go from 3 to 6. That's absolutely massive. That's a really insane buff that they gave her for that, especially with this Cold-Bloodedness build. Really good to see that for Viessa. And then the Cold Snap Watch, we would lay that down. They just buffed the skill power of that inherently. And again, because we're swapped Frost Words out for Cold-Bloodedness for the damage, because again the Cold-Bloodedness build is granting you the skill power, decreased skill cost, and cooldown. That's what's allowing you to just spam your 4 to take these guys out and hit really hard. So again, Cold-Bloodedness, mid-air maneuvering, huge. You just pop that in. I think there's other ones you can use too that give you the extra skill slots. So whatever one you want to use doesn't really matter. The most important thing is just getting that extra module capacity in there. Those are just standard. You want to spec. So when it comes to this, we're going to spec into your skill cooldowns. You got your MP conversion, your nimble fingers. Those are your cooldowns. We don't have a lot of survivability in this build, so we've got our max HP. That's pretty much going to carry the load. We've got another little bit of a cooldown and a chill skill power modifier. Again, chill skill, I took that over focus on tech, because tech only applies to one, at least when I'm spamming the other skills, because they will come up and they will get used if you want to wipe that boss real quick. At least I'm getting that power to all of them applied. And the skill cooldown is also very nice to have on that module. Then you want to go into your range, your skill. I have amplification control. People use maximize range. It has a debuff on it. I mean, it's really your call which way you want to go, but I sided with amplification control to give me that 51% and a little bit of survivability with the shield. So you see the skill power modifier on the maximize range goes down the thing, and you're talking about, you know, don't max it up, min max it, yada yada. It just, I don't know. It's crazy. Like skill power modifier of minus 20%. But your range is 94. It's up to you what you see. I feel like you get enough range out of the build without having to do something crazy like that. We've already got that on, so that's just, you know, the other option that I've seen and I've heard people use. I just can't get my head around taking the 20% reduction on the modifier, especially for Viessa on the skill power. Amplification control, so again that's our effective range, and skill expansion, again to maximize the range as much as we can. I believe it's there 144. I think it taps out at 200. You know, it's slightly under. Like I said, to me it's good enough without having to take that hit on the that skill power modifier. Now this is where you know, the good stuff comes in. This is emergency measures, critical hit rate, and skill critical hit damage. So again, speccing into the two that we want, and it's the skill critical hit rate that we want to jack the heck out of. That way it's hitting for, you know, a lot of the percentage chances, and then the damage will just inherently you know, come with it. But for this build here, we're sacrificing HP, and I've actually added in a skill critical hit damage modifier and skill critical hit rate. So these two combined at 115% for the damage and the rate, again speccing into critical hit rate here too, allows it to tick for more, gives me a critical hit rate chance, and it just seems to absolutely destroy the bosses, and it goes across the deck for the builds right now. So speccing into critical hit rate is more beneficial than speccing into critical hit damage, which is what I did pre-buff. I was speccing into critical hit damage, so yes, it would just hit hard. Now because of the, you know, the duration and the tick damage, if you have more of a critical hit rate chance, you can get the critical hit rate damage. So you're ticking more, and then your critical hit rate damage has a better chance of hitting. So it's better to spec into the rate and then let the damage take care of itself based on the percentage rate, which you just saw beforehand at 42% critical hit rate chance at a 3 times multiplier on your damage. And then to round obviously things off is dangerous ambush. So knocking the enemy is really, you know, where this will come into play. So as long as you're able to knock, I believe on the higher level bosses, which I'll go into now, and dangerous ambush is mandatory for the lower level bosses, right? So this is just the boss for, you know, probably going up to Pyromaniac. Anything after this, you might want to start adjusting the builds, and I'll just go over a couple of options of what I'm doing and what I'm going to be, you know, showing definitely later on with Viessa and the other Descendants. So dangerous ambush is on, but there's also walk the line. I have it walk a tightrope, sorry. So this one is just, again, you're taking damage against those heavy things. At least you're getting the skill power modifier on firearm attack. So I have yet to spec into this, but this is another option for dangerous ambush when you get into the higher level bosses. And again, I don't recommend this build at all for anything probably over Pyromaniac, because there's no survivability within it. So I would slowly just start putting in, like, as you start feeling them out, Battle of Stamina, give you some more HP, and you would have to swap out the skill concentration. So as we get into the higher levels, skill concentration comes off, and then Battle of Stamina will take its place to give you the more survivability. And then if Battle of Stamina, you know, doesn't seem to be cutting it for survivability, I would swap that out for HP. Amplification, where I just take the hit on the max shield, then I get max survivability out of my build, and the deduction on the shield is made up for here, so it's a wash. I don't really lose anything for it because I have my amplification control there in the background to automatically offset. You know, the gain that I had is just offset, so it's a 0 out. So it's, I do lose a little bit of shield in retrospect, but it's not like a down buff for that to be on there because of amplification control. Like you're losing additional shield, you're just leveling it out. So that would be like to get into my, you know, the Giga builds again. But what we're rocking here is we're not spec'd into survivability. So again, this is max survivability if you were to keep going. And then you would go Battle of Stamina if you were just wanting to keep a little bit of survivability in there for the bosses and net us a little bit of duration. and then when that's you know, and then when that one's completely tapped out, and you're just going straight for trying to wipe the boss as fast as possible, it would be skill concentration. As you can see, if you set the where is it? There it is. There. Boom. So again, this is the builder doing it. And the absolute crazy part of this is if you felt like you could survive, and maybe I'll even try it, you could even swap this out. I would need to respec or renode the slot, but you could potentially put front lines into your increased HP and literally be rocking no HP. But I feel like that I wouldn't inherently advise that, but I mean, there's still, that would be it. You would have squeezed the maximum amount of damage and skill critical hit rates, you know, out of your survivability while speccing just solely into just straight gains. That would be like, you know, the ultimate, I feel like, option for that slot. Take that out, throw front lines in, you got no survivability in here, but hell, you're gonna hit like a Mack truck every single time, every time. So anyway, this is just, you know, fun build, just messing around with it. This is how I cleared the Devourer in 17 seconds. These are all the slottings there for it. Just went over it in detail. I did go over it pre-buff. This is post-buff. I'm not going to do every single build in detail, but I just wanted to give you at least a post-buff on this, and then show how it rocks well against the Devourer. So yeah, that's it.